Oh, hi. Welcome to another Today's Decay, July 3rd edition, in which we celebrate births and beginnings of everything important since the dawn of time. On this day, in 1883, Franz Kafka was born. I love Franz Kafka. I really enjoy anybody that I feel like doesn't belong in a movement, but really is just like a weirdo on their own. And he's one of them. I'd kind of put him in the same category as somebody like James Ensor, from a painting standpoint. Just people who were like years before like a surrealist type movement or something and just lived on their own and created artwork that was just all in their head and without really anybody else saying, yeah, do this, do that, you know? I mean, like, nothing against the surrealists, the Dadaists, etc., etc., but the people who were either separate from movements or predating movements move me. More so. Meanwhile, 1930, on this day, The Unholy Three premiered. It wasn't the first Unholy Three, although maybe it was the last, which is a little bit too bad, right? Because, I mean, there should be The Unholy Three. It would make sense to do three workings of the story. It was, both versions of the film starred Lon Chaney. The first one, 1925, was directed by Todd Browning, but by the time 1930 rolled around, I think he was not kind of a mess at that point. He either turned his life around in time in 31 to direct Dracula, or I don't know what, but he was definitely struggling with substance abuse, and got into a car accident early on in his film career after he was in the Sideshow for a while, where he possibly, he wrecked his car and killed his friend that was in the passenger seat, and possibly self-castrated himself in the process of wrecking the car, which might be why he was one of the reasons he was so focused on Lon Chaney cutting off different appendages in different movies, be it The Unknown, The Penalty, The Shock, a couple other ones. In this film, he doesn't cut off any appendages, but he's part of a crime trio with a circus strongman, a little person, and he dresses up as a little old lady, a la Mrs. Doubtfire or something, I guess, from a modern-ish standpoint. And they just, commit crimes, as you do. Is a story written by Todd Robbins, not Todd Robbins, the famous spook show magician here in New York City. That's two D's. Single D. Much like Todd Browning. 1D. Todd Robbins. He also wrote a whole bunch of other really fun short horror stories. The Unholy Three, here is a original 1917 first printing of it. Repro dust jacket, but as you can see here, the original book, and this is really wild. It comes with all these photos of Todd Robbins and his wife, number 3. See that? Maybe she was the Unholy Three. I don't know. More pictures of his family? I don't know why this was just crammed in this book. When I got it, they didn't mention that, but there it is anyway. Right. That's 1917. I don't have a 1925 photoplay version of it yet, but I do have the 1931, which is the one that premiered today. Here's a repro dust jacket of it. It also features young Charlie Gamora as the gorilla. I saw a double feature with Shane Morton of both Unholy Threes at the MoMA. I don't know, was it 10 years ago? It was a while ago. These photo plays I've mentioned before, so like it's the book with stills from the film it's specifically supporting at that year. So like you could like take this home, because otherwise there was no other way to like rewatch movies. There was no repertory like art house theaters at this point that were gonna like show an old movie. So like there you go right there. Lon Chaney with a young Charlie Gamora in a really good ape suit. And I don't remember if there's any other stills in this one. Sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. Depends how much work they put into these at the time. Oh, there's one. Anyway, here you have a full-page newspaper advertisement for Lon Chaney. For Lon Chaney's The Unholy Three. This is the 1925 one, the Todd Browning version. These are all original newspaper ads from the time, although this is a lithograph of Thunder, his last film from France, and that is a oil painting of London After Midnight by Philadelphia artist Karel Motto, if you can see that. There you go, I'll step out of the light, now you can see it. Now you can see it. Oh, and a tissue box, because sometimes I have allergies. Anyway, what's my point here? Unholy 3, 1930 is a big deal. The Jazz Singer came out in like 1927, maybe 28. That's the first sound film. And Lon Chaney did a good... His parents were deaf, so he grew up pantomiming. And that's part of what he attributes his success and his skill. Also, he felt like a lot of his heavy-duty prosthetics, he wasn't going to be able to talk. So sound came in, but the sound was really bad at first. Like 27, 28, I'm saying. A lot of really early sound films, there's like a potted plant and two actors on either side of it, just like standing over the potted plant, because that's where the microphone is hidden, and just like yelling at each other, because like there was no other, like the sound technology was really bad at first. And so people who were like significant artists, Marlene Dietrich, Charlie Chaplin, Lon Chaney, all, maybe even Garbo possibly, all really weren't looking to embrace sound, because they just felt like it was gonna, this is cheap, it's not gonna work, it's gonna make them seem like they're not as maybe elusive or impactful. And also, another thing, Chaney felt like, well, this is a way that people who are deaf, like his parents, can experience stories and share experiences together, is with silent movies. I don't know if he said this exactly, but I know Chaplin said it, was, this is also, what they were doing in the silent era was stories for people of all languages. You could very easily just put in different intertitles for whatever this would be translated to in Japanese, German, Spanish, whatever, and now you've got the same exact movie, but with translation, where if you're now going to be speaking aloud, is somebody going to dub this? Is somebody going to subtitle it? This is before this was really like a thing, so nobody really knew how this was going to work, and they felt like it meant that, no, you're going to have to like make a whole new version of it, maybe with different actors, probably with different actors who can speak the foreign language, and they didn't want to let go of that. Add to all that, so he made Thunder out in the Rockies, in the Rockies, out in like February, and caught a cold or got something. He had something happening with his respiratory system. I forget. They kind of kept it a secret if this was like cancer or something else. But basically, everything, he pushed off doing a sound film until 1930. So he's making silent films up until like the day he died. And at around the same time, he did make The Unholy Three, which was his last movie to actually be released, and it was his only movie with where he spoke, and he gave a couple different vocal performances as different characters. I think kind of just showing off, sort of. But it's difficult because this is all like very low fidelity. But it makes you wonder, like, what could have happened if he lived and continued on with the technology. Anyway, so yeah, Unholy 3 is great. I love both versions of them. Watching them back to back with Shane Morton at the MoMA. I think we both came out of there saying, like, which one's better? I don't know. They both have so many great things, qualities to them that the other one doesn't have, and either way, today, July 3rd, is the 1930 version's day. That's what you should be watching today. Or you could, before I get there, one other thing about this. So it ends in a really poetic way, the Unholy 3, where he's like being taken away, and he says something along the lines of, "That's all there is to life, a little laugh, a little tear," and then like waves off to the lady, and it's like, "I'll send you a postal card." And it's just like, that's like his send-off for life. Like, did he know he was sick and dying? I don't know. But there's something utterly poetic about it. Meanwhile, 1957, Polly Styrene was born, the singer of X-Ray Spex. I love Polly Styrene, and I also wish she was here today. So blast some X-Ray Spex and think of her. 1985, Day of the Dead? Day of the Dead premiered. George Romero's Day of the Dead. Yeah. Not a great movie, but he tried. And it's important to try, isn't it? I mean, it's I think famously flawed due to budgetary issues and things, but still, fun, worth it, whatever. So yeah, Unholy 3 for me. What are you going to watch? I don't know. What are you going to watch tomorrow? Maybe more of this.